So our topic is change and innovation. Okay. So in our perspective, in the business perspective, change and innovation is a must. Kailangan talaga ng organization or ng ating mga ng ating organization or ng ating business to embrace change and be open and to think of ways on how are we going to innovate our products and services. I will just share one prominent company na natalo because they didn't do anything bad. It's just that they didn't do anything. Okay? If you are born or if you are already have if you are maybe kung naabutan niyo yung Nokia is a cell phone brand. They are very prominent and they have a very wide market before. Dati, parang pag sinabi mong cellphone, automatic Nokia ang ma-remember na. Automatic Nokia ang brand na ma-remember at alam nila. It's because the brand is very good. Durability of the cellphone itself, ang ganda talaga. Yung joke galing kahit itapon mo ang Nokia, hindi siya masisira. Yung masisira is yung glass, kung iaboy mo siya sa salamin or kung iaboy mo siya sa isa kahoy, mas maguba pa daw ang kahoy. That's how durable Nokia is. Battery life, ang ganda pa rin. It will take you maybe 3 days kung hindi mo talaga siya parating ginagamit yung cellphone. Aabot ang battery life mo ng mga 3 days. So that's how good Nokia is. However, when cell phone companies started to introduce yung mga other features like mobile internet, mobile banking, mobile games na ina-upload sa cellphone, Nokia wasn't open for that idea yet. Nokia is reluctant to that idea. That is why kahit na ang sikat-sikat na Nokia dati, nalugi sila. It's not because they did something wrong or they did something bad for their product. It's just that they did not do anything and they didn't embrace the change and the innovation being presented by other cell phone companies. Okay? So that is why change and innovation is very important. Again, sabi nga natin, the only constant thing in this world is change. So whether you adopt it or you will be left out. Okay? So for introduction, this lesson will discuss about the change management process, factors of resistance to change, and how we manage resistance to change. So it also discusses stimulating innovation and the contemporary issues in managing change or changes. Okay, so these are the most important factors that we are going to discuss. The change management process, the factors of resistance to change, and how we manage resistance. Ito yung tatlong importanteng i-discuss natin. So change management process. The change management process is the sequence of steps or activities that a change management team or project leader follow to apply change management to a change in order to drive individual transitions and ensure the project meets its intended outcomes. The below elements have been identified from research as key elements of a successful change. So there is, of course, a process when we change something in an organization. Hindi siya automatic na i-change lang siya automatic. There should be a process so that there will have acceptance and there will have understanding by the employees or the persons concerned. So there are 3 phases for change process. We have in the phase 1, it's preparing for change. In phase 2, managing change, and in phase 3, reinforcing change. So we will discuss them one by one. So for phase 1, preparing for change, or this is the assessment stage. Assessment because we need to understand first that there is a need for change, 'di ba? Kay if the process is if the current process or if the current setup is good, why change it if there is no need, 'di ba? So we need to identify the problem. We need to collect data, we need to analyze data, and we need to make strategic determination. So in identifying the problem, opportunity that necessitates change or what is the problem, because in business or in management, we treat problems as opportunities. Okay? We don't treat problems as problems. We treat them as opportunities to be better or to produce a solution which could be a product that we can sell. Diba? Ganun yan. Kung may problema, may solusyon yan. Ang solusyon, pwede nating pagkakitaan, sabi nga nila. Diba? Bakit umuso ngayong panahon ng pandemya ang face mask tsaka face shield? Because there is a need to prevent the virus. And business owners produce this to help the community survive or solve the problem, and of course, to help themselves. Okay? So data collection, gathering structural, technological, and people information and effects of these elements on the process, and we need to analyze the data being gathered. Kumbaga pa, in this stage, we are researchers. Okay? We look for opportunities and we determine solutions for that opportunities. Okay? Dito, we will answer if change is necessary. Sabi ko nga, kailangan ba talaga or hindi man? And make others aware of the need for the change. This is very important. Awareness to everyone that the company or the organization need something to be changed. And SWOT analysis, strength, usually it's SWOT. This is wrong lang. Typographical error. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So SWOT analysis and basic 4 sources model. Environmental forces, organizational forces, task demand, and personal needs. So those are the things that we need in order for us or the organization to be prepared for certain changes. Phase 2 is managing change. Of course, after we gather data, we need to plan what to do and to do what is planned. Ganun lang yun siya. Phase 2 is planning and implementation. So that's it. So in planning and implementation, we need to state goal and specific measurable objectives and also the time allotted, establishing the who, how, what, and when of change, allocating resources, budget, and evaluation methods, plan for resistance management, identify areas of support and resistance, include everyone in the planning that will be affected, establish target dates for implementation, develop appropriate strategy for alteration, be available to support others through the process, and evaluate the change, then modify if necessary. And phase 3 is reinforcing change or evaluation process. We need to evaluate yung mga changes na ginawa natin. If nakag-produce ba siya ng better results or hindi. Or naging problema siya. So we need to evaluate now the changes that we implemented. So we need to determine effectiveness of change. Did it achieve objectives and benefits, qualitative as well as financial, and the documented evidence of being achieved? And we need to stabilize the change, taking measures to reinforce and maintain the change. Okay? Change should be reinforced and should be documented. That is why hindi pwede, although how do we say to make it institutionalized? Kasi, let's say, in a certain organization, managers come and go. Para sa isang country, ang presidente sa Philippines, 6 years lang na siya. So kung ano itong rules niya, nga wala niya gin-institutionalize or wala niya ginhimo nga Republic Act or executive orders, that could the change that he implemented will just maybe maintain for 6 years. Pero kung naging batas siya, naging Republic Act, or talagang executive order siya, then those changes that he implemented will go on kahit na wala na siya. So that's how you reinforce change. There are the types of organizational change. We will not deal with it thoroughly, so I will give it to you as a reading assignment. So what are the types of organizational change? We have the organization-wide changes, yung change that will affect the entire organization. So ganun lang yun siya. Organizational-wide, the change that will affect the entire organization. Transformational change specifically targets a company's organizational strategy, yung strategy na ng company. Personal change more happens when a company experiences hyper-growth or layoff. So kung mataas yung employee turnover, or mabilisan yung pag-resign at saka pag-apply ng tao, that's the personal change. They need to have adapt to that. They need to make solutions for that one. And the unplanned change. Unplanned change is typically defined as necessary action following unexpected events. So kaya nga unplanned siya because unexpected siya. For example, this pandemic, this is unplanned, di ba? Grabe naman kung planado niya siya. Kung unplanned siya, that is why last year and this year, ang drastic ng changes na pinagdaanan ng buong mundo. Because nobody prepared for it, nobody prepares for it, nobody foresees it. Natabo lang siya. So that's unplanned change. And then the remedial change. And now, we will be dealing now to our second objective, the resistance to change. Obviously, and commonly, kapag may introduce ka nga bago, people will at first reject it. So kasi nga merong resistance. So change is always beneficial and difficult to implement. Diba? Beneficial siya because you change kasi you believe that those changes that you will implement will benefit the organization. But also it will be difficult to implement, especially kapag sanay na yung mga empleyado or sanay na yung mga customers sa dating gawin. Diba? So that's how it is difficult. So it is important for change to occur continually for adjusting dynamic forces. Resistance to change will be on two main reasons: social change and change in human relationship with technical change. So what are the factors or what are the things that help increase resistance? Ano yung mga bagay na mas nagapabudlay i-implement ang mga changes na gusto mong matabo? We have insecurity. Changes caused due to change in new technology, new procedure, new system causes uncertainty in job, which creates employees' anxiousness, which leads insecurity in job. So maybe this insecurity is more of job tenuity. Diba? Ngayong panahon, uso na ngayon ang technology. Ang daming companies that drifted from human employees to technologies. Kaya mas nahihirapan mag-accept yung mga empleyado sa changes. It's because natatakot sila mawala ng trabaho because meron ng technology. So that's how it is being treated by the employees. Kaya ito yung major reason why people are afraid of changes, especially if it will give threat or ito yung parang may threat sila, may takot sila na mawawalan sila ng trabaho. Lack of communication. If change is not properly communicated to workers, it can lead to resistance. A sense of participation helps to reduce in such resistance. Of course, kung may changes at saka hindi nyo napag-usapan, it will of course be resisted. Kukontrahin yan kasi nga walang proper communication. Hindi naintindihan ng empleyado or ng mga customers why is there a need for change. Kaya nga meron tayong preparation to change. Diba? Sabi natin sa phase 1, Preparing for change. In this preparing for change, important factor dito ang communication so that the employees will know why is there a need for change and why is it beneficial. Okay? So kaya nga dapat inform ang mga tao. And rapidity and extent of change. When we say rapidity, ano yung timeline ng change? Gusto mo ba ura-urada? Pag inaba mo nga mo sini dapat buwas dayon or subong dayon? Or grabe gid ang extent? Gusto mo gid instantanan? Kumbaga pa daw nagbalik ka mo sa scratch, nagbalik ka mo sa step 1. So those things will create social tension kasi nga extreme, mabilisan. So ang tao, syempre ma-shock, ma-culture shock. So that is why there will be resistance. So if changes are minor, the resistance also will be minimal. However, if the changes are major, such as restructuring of organization, the resistance will be highly visible. Similarly, slower changes in process result in slower resistance and vice versa. Sorry, this is C. Vice versa. Typographical error again. And then group resistance. Individuals resist to changes if the group he belongs resists to it. Kasi grupo-grupo, di ba? Kung ayaw ni Group A ng change na gin-introduce ni Group B, so of course, Group A and all of its members will resist the idea. Yan ang nangyari. Emotional turmoil. Individuals may resist changes due to past experience where changes don't have positive results, and this may also due to misunderstanding, lack of confidence or trust. Its important can be misinterpreted. So again, dati yung concept kasi na ay nag-try naman ta isla na siya dati. Wala man, hindi man siya effective nga, isla naman ta sa subong, ma-adjust na naman kita tapos hindi man effective. So those are examples of emotional turmoil. And then the loss of power and control. Sometimes changes can reduce power or authority of individuals, group or units. Such losses create resistance kasi nga mawawalan sila ng relevance sa company. So that is why they will reject the change. They want to retain their power and their control and their authority. So how can we manage resistance? How do we manage resistance to changes? Kung ganun yung mga reasons bakit hindian ng tao. So kung ikaw ang management, how will you manage it? Paano mo ipapa-embrace sa kanila ang change? So we have participation and involvement. So in participation and involvement, participation ensures commitment in implication of change. Commitment is very important sa mga empleyado. Commitment na makuwata sa empleyado is very important for changes. Because if employees are not committed to change, again, di ba, sabi ko dati, kung hindi committed ang isang empleyado, maski ano pa ng ideas, that will not be thoroughly implemented by the employees, which will result also for a bad performance. So secondly, participation will be easier when individual recognizes his personal benefit to be gained from change. So kailangan mo ipaintindi sa kanila nga importante sa ila, nga kailangan nila. So for example, kailangan magamit at subong sa, 'di ba, sa education, hindi na ngayon uso ang chalk. Uso na ngayon ang PowerPoint presentation. So if you are going to change the perspective of your teachers na i-embrace yung technology, you need to make them feel na it is beneficial to them. Like saying, ay mas nami gani ko mag-PowerPoint, at least 'di ba hindi ka na magsulat-sulat, kapila magsulat-sulat, or hindi mo na kailangan magsulat sa Manila paper, and then may tendency pa nga mag-isi ang Manila paper. Whereas kung naka-PowerPoint siya, i-save mo lang siya, i-show mo siya, maskin kapila ka beses. So that's how you make it also. And communication and education. So if information is inaccurate and not adequate, then it is necessary to educate employees through training classes, meetings, and conferences. Changes must be communicated clearly without doubt in these meetings. So again, we need to train employees. We need to explain to them what changes to be done, how will it be done. And kung kailangan, for example, ngayon sa online learning or sa online education, we need to train the teachers and the students how to use the online portals. And of course, the leadership. A leader with stronger influence and have command from the members to exert emotional pressure on its followers to bring about the change. So leadership is very important. The let's say the political will, sabi nga ni Digong, di ba? The political will is very important. Okay? Hindi lang because kailangan na siya imon. Kailangan ang leader is also committed to the change. Para ano siya, may stand, may paninindigan. So that's also important for changes to be properly embraced by the employees. And then the negotiation and agreement, of course, we need again to negotiate the changes and the agreement between the employees and the management. The willingness of the sake of the group. So some individuals may be willing to accept changes when group belonging to is willing to accept the change. So sabi nga kanina, one barrier or one factors to resistance is the resistance of the group. Pero again, dito sabi natin, if we can manage the resistance also by getting the approval of the group. Diba? Ganun yan. Timing of change, kailangan medyo moderate lang siya para hindi masyadong resistance ang ma-receive natin. Kasi kung biglaan, kahit na ano pang ganda niyan, talagang ma-resist ang employees because napakabiglaan. So there should be adequate time frame, adequate timeline para makapag-adjust naman yung mga empleyado. So contemporary issues in managing change, what are the common issues regarding changes? So changing organizational cultures, cultures are naturally resistant to change, and conditions that facilitate cultural changes are the occurrence of a dramatic crisis, leadership changing hands, a young, flexible, and so small organization, a weak organizational culture. So handling employee stress due to change. So stress is the physical and psychological tension an individual feels when confronted with extraordinary demands, constraints, or opportunities and their associated importance and uncertainties. So, nagiging tense yung empleyado because yung demand sa kanya or yung problems are extraordinary beyond the natural stress or the natural demand, extraordinary. So, functional stress, stress that has a positive effect on performance. Kasi may iba naman, di ba, can work under pressure or mas nagiging performer sila kapag stress sila. Yung parang sabi nga natin, mas dali, sa estudyante, di ba, mas dali maghimo sang assignment or sang project kung lapit na ang deadline compared sa kung layo pa. Di ba daw, amo na siyang example. So how potential stress becomes actual stress? There is uncertainty over the outcome and when the outcome is important. So stimulating innovation. Now, those are the factors that are affecting to the changes. Now, we need to go to our second part of our lesson, which is innovation. So we need to stimulate innovation. We need to determine or differentiate creativity from innovation. So creativity is the ability to combine ideas in a unique way or to make an unusual association. Innovation is turning the outcomes of the creative process into useful products, services, or work methods. So when we say creativity, it is thinking outside the box, di ba? Yung parang, uy, wala na mo na isip dati ah. Uy, wala na mo na pwede gali na himuon. So that's creativity. Yung innovation naman is using the creative idea into useful products or services. Di ba? Sino ba nag-isip dati nga pwede ka maglantaw sa TV sa cellphone? Di ba wala? Kasi alam natin na yung television programs can only be seen sa television. Pero may nag-isip na himuon nga pwede maglantaw sa TV sa cellphone. So atong creative idea nga to ginhimo into innovation. Nga ang cellphone ginhimo na siya nga pwede na maglantaw sa TV network. So stimulate innovation by encouraging culture. So you can read on that na in the positive environment, provide productive office space. So creating the right environment for innovation. Can we make how can we make our organization or our enterprise good for innovation? Diba? Because innovation is also a form of change. You have the structural variables, adapt an organic structure, make available plentiful of resources, and engage in frequent inter-unit communication. So this is very important. When employees talk, di ba, mag-istorya na isa sa problema, ang tendency after na-istorya na isang problema, mag-iita sila sa solution. And this solution can be turned into innovation. Innovation. That is very important. And minimize extreme time pressures on creative ideas and provide explicit support for creativity. And those are the cultural variables needed, the human resources variables needed for innovation. So those are the factors affecting changes and innovation in an organization. Thank you for listening.